So where at in Florida are you though?
Sarasota. So it's on the west coast of Florida, hour south of
Okay.
Tampa, about an hour north of Fort Myers.
Okay, so you're actually well, Tampa's not as far south as I think, right? Like,
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of
okay.
like lower, lower one third
Hmm.
part of the
Yeah.
state. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's
Yeah, I always thought Tampa was like at the very tip, but like that's like Miami is like way down there. Tampa's kind of more in the middle-ish.
yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Okay.
So not too far from Fort Myers, which is home of the Minnesota Twins spring training. So
Ah, okay.
a lot of Minnesota contingent that come down here, but
Yeah, do you go and watch them?
I've only made it once
Yeah.
in this long a time. I
Yeah.
mean, oh, I should go more,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's fun. It's a good.
How
There's
did
a
you
lot of
make your
fun.
way down to Florida?
So I got relocated with a different medical device company that I was
Okay.
with, and I was covering. So after college, just moved a little further out west in the western suburbs, in Minnetonka area, and then a little further out to like Waconia, and I was covering kind of Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota,
Hmm.
Iowa, Wisconsin, this big geography for
Yeah.
this different device. It was vascular access devices, and so that company relocated me down here in 2013 just to take on a newer, bigger role, and it was like February of 2013. I mean, I think it
Hmm.
was 40 below, and I said, "Yeah, I'll go right away." Like,
They probably strategically asked you during that time to make sure that you would go down there, you know?
yeah,
Smart move.
yeah, it worked out well. It worked out well. So yeah, no regrets. We've been here for, like I said, coming on 13 years, and it's been a good run. Kind of jumped into the Florida lifestyle, so I'm into the
Yeah.
adrenaline stuff, the spear fishing, diving,
Wow.
kind of the running boats to the Bahamas for fun. So kind of just the full on alligator hunting, which is pretty
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
and so kind of
Dang.
jumped into all of it.
What's that like alligator hunting?
It's not as exciting as you'd think. It's kind of funny. You go out there and you look for the alligators. You shine at night for their eyes, or you can find them in the daytime just with them, and you just cast a big treble hook and you try to hook them that way. And it's cool in theory, but it's not nearly as fun as like a deer hunt or a gator hunt or some other big game in
Really?
my opinion. But yeah, I mean the trophy's pretty cool. You get a pair of boots and on a belt. So
Yeah. Did you catch one?
oh yeah, we've caught a bunch. Yeah.
And then what? You bring them back and do you like cook them?
You cook them, yeah. So you take the hide off, which is kind of the main part of it, and then you pretty much eat just like the tail aspect of the gator. So it's like chicken.
Really?
Yeah, and then you, like I said, you can make a pair of boots out of the hide. You can make a
Hmm.
gun case, a belt. I mean, wallets, purses, you name it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But
Huh. Do you get up to Minnesota then much?
every once in a while, usually every
Yeah.
summer, to go see
Is like, is your
family.
family still, yeah, is your family still up there? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. My mom lives up there. My brother and sister are up there, and yeah. So I'll get up there. I was up there. Just I was up there for the 25th national championship reunion at Augsburg
Nice.
this last November. So that was, Kelly, believe it or not, it's the first live wrestling match I had seen in 14 years. So kind of
Seriously.
kind of bad. Yeah, yeah. I have girls. They're in club volleyball, and
Yeah.
pretty much that's my life. We travel all over the country and
Really?
do that,
You guys
and
are
so
doing volleyball all over the country, huh? They must be into it. Sounds like.
they're into it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have one left in it. My oldest, she's in it. She's a freshman in college up in Tampa, and then my youngest is still in she's a
Nice.
junior in high school, so she's still in the club, and that's
Yeah.
it. That's kind of our life now.
Was it
So,
easy to get sucked into volleyball?
oh, my wife played volleyball at Augsburg
Oh,
when we were
okay.
there.
Okay.
So yeah, so she loves it. It was just kind of the natural thing to do. It's fun. I mean, for me, it's better than if they were in dance or cheer or something like that. It's at least
Mhm.
entertaining, and I have fun. It's probably the best sport that I think they could possibly be in for a girl sport. And
Yeah.
and they're like I said, they're both really into beach volleyball, high school volleyball, club volleyball. So
Mhm.
it's year round. That's what it is. So
So, speaking from a volleyball fan and your wife was a player, what's the significant difference between beach and beach and sand volleyball and like court
Mhm.
volleyball. Obviously, there's a difference, and like we can see the
Yeah,
differences. But like I'm talking maybe a little more strategically. Like just
yeah,
because you're good at sand doesn't mean you're going to be good at, you know what I mean? Like some people are.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So
You could be really good at one and terrible at the other. Yeah,
right,
for sure. So sand or beach volleyball is really a two-player component. So you have you and your
mhm,
partner, and there's some different rules as far as how you can hit the ball over, how you set the ball, and that's those are kind of the main things. The ability to jump in sand is obviously a little challenging for others.
yeah,
Your speed really matters, so you could be really tall and excel in the front row indoor, but it may not translate to beach or sand volleyball as
mm,
well. So those are some of the key things.
yeah.
My girls are on the shorter side. My wife's only 5'3", maybe 5'3.5", and my
Dang, she
daughters
played
are.
volleyball.
Yeah, she was a
What?
defensive specialist. Yeah.
Wow, was she the libero?
Yeah, yeah. That
Okay,
was
there we
it
go.
had, when she was in college. It just turned over to the libero, and
Okay,
both of my daughters are also liberos.
I hear there's kind of a debate. Is it libero or libero?
Libero's the way I know it, but
Okay,
that's and that's come from a guy that's doing this every weekend, so I know it as libero. Could be wrong. I
gotcha.
could be saying it wrong the whole time, but that's
Yeah,
what we call it.
I've been because like I've been watching volleyball as it's kind of skyrocketed, over the last several years, and that's kind of like the thing. Some people call it libero, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I've never heard it called that either. But I don't know. On the
I'll have to
broadcast,
look
they'll say it,
for
and I'm like, what the? So
that.
I don't know. Maybe it's an East Coast thing. I don't know. They do things differently over there sometimes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Exactly. I'm with you on that.
yeah. So where's your wife from then? So you met her at Augsburg. Is she from Minneapolis or
Yeah,
Minnesota?
so she grew up there. Kind of funny story. So her dad is Mike Good, and Mike
Okay.
Good was the first All American at Augsburg. So as you look at
What?
in the Augsburg wrestling room,
I got it pulled up right now.
yeah, you got to pull him up. And he was a finalist. He was a great wrestler, and then he actually coached at Augsburg for a little while. So
Wow. Yeah,
he's a
there he is.
dedicated Auggie. He's been a philanthropist for Augsburg. He's helped raise money for some of the buildings there, and so she graduated from high school out in New Jersey. Actually, he was out there. Her dad had
Really?
relocated out there for work, so she had kind of lived around. Born in Minnesota, lived in Florida, then out to New Jersey to graduate,
Mhm.
and then she came back to Minnesota and to Augsburg to play volleyball. And so she came back, and of course her dad and the influence there, and
Mhm.
so that's where we met. Yeah, we met freshman orientation.
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah. And so we that's just the first time we met, and then we
Yeah.
didn't date until a little bit later. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was so that's how she ended up there. You know.
Yeah. And then how did I guess so you're from Ellendale, Minnesota. I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of intriguing how many schools encompassed your high school. And I got them written down here so I didn't forget. There's New Richland, Heartland, Ellendale, and Geneva.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, were all
Yeah.
those towns just like 200 people or like
Kinda,
500
yeah,
people?
yeah. So pretty much, yeah. I was the 500, so I was on the medium scale. It used to
Hmm.
be just Ellendale, Geneva,
Yeah.
and Richland and Heartland, and
Okay.
obviously, as the rural community families got smaller, class size got smaller, so they ended up consolidating. I don't even
Yeah.
remember the year when they consolidated, but throughout my time there, yeah, it was NRHEG or the Alphabet School or NERHAG or whatever whatever they wanted to call us. But I graduated with like probably mid 80s kids,
Wow.
something like
Okay.
that. But it
Yeah.
encompassed a pretty large radius, and yeah, it was a good experience. It was a great place to grow up. I mean, in the cornfields
Yeah.
and kind of all the country living. Not a lot to do.
Yeah. Where are they located at
South
specifically?
Central, so
Central.
just
Okay.
basically just a little bit north of Albert Lee and a little
Okay.
south
Yep.
of Owatonna. West a little bit is the high schools in Richmond, but yeah, right on I-35 and
I-35. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my stomping grounds.
Nice. Do you still have family in that part of the area?
I do, yeah,
Specifically?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's where my mom and sister live.
Okay.
My brother lives a little further up in Le Sueur. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so they're all there, and that's where I go back every summer.
Yeah.
A lot of my high school friends we're close with, and in fact, I'm heading out your way Saturday. I'm going flying in Denver and then going out towards Steamboat. We've
What?
done every year a snowmobile trip with all of my high school
Nice.
friends. So I think we're on. I think it's year 20, maybe something like that. I've missed
Yeah.
a couple here and there with when the
Yeah.
kids were younger, but yeah. So it's this weekend. So still
Yeah.
pretty close with everyone back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever look up Sam Barber?
I know Sam Barber. I know. Yeah. Is he
Do you
close
ever?
by there? I love Sam Barber. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he coaches here,
I know.
and so yeah,
Yeah.
he's in Palmer Lake, which is I don't know, probably 10 minutes maybe or so, 15 minutes north of Colorado Springs. So
Okay.
yeah,
I have to look him up and see him. I haven't seen him for 20 years, you know?
really,
Yeah,
yeah.
at least.
Um, did you grow up on a farm then? Like back to your high school, like
No,
growing up?
I grew up in Ellendale in the town, but
Okay,
I worked on farms, you know, from the time I was old enough to pick rocks and,
really?
you know, bale hay and all that
Yeah,
stuff. And as you get older, I just became like a farmhand to a family,
sure,
a couple
sure.
different families, but one family in particular. And so I was a wannabe farm kid. I wasn't part of the, you know, the lucky club that had land that was
Yeah,
inherited. So
I wanted to be a farm kid just for the fact of like they had four wheelers or like skid steers. Like
yeah,
that's the part of the farming I wanted to be a part of. I didn't
yeah,
really necessarily want to do the milking the cows or baling the hay, but
yeah,
some of them had a snowmobile. Like, so I wanted to be part farm kid because I wanted that,
yeah.
but I didn't care for the other part of farming.
Yeah, yeah. Well, trust me, I've done all of it, and there's a lot I didn't care for. So,
Yeah.
but
Um,
it's not a bad lifestyle for a lot of those guys.
right, for sure. How many siblings do you have?
I have two. I have an
Okay.
older sister and an older brother. So they're just a couple years older.
Okay.
My
And then
brother's
did they
state
do
trooper.
sports? Oh, state trooper. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. Go ahead. He's a
Minnesota
state trooper.
state trooper up there, and my sister does some work for the University of Minnesota and stuff like that. But they have their families both there. But you know, no, I mean, well, my siblings did do sports. My brother
Yeah.
was a cross country and track runner,
Okay.
and then my sister was kind of all the sports, volleyball, basketball, track. But I was the only one that, and softball she played too. But I was really the only one that went on to wrestle. And the funny thing is, I'm the only one in my entire family on both sides that ever wrestled. My uncle was a basketball coach in West Central Minnesota, and
Hmm.
so I think
And he was pretty good, wasn't he? I thought he was a pretty good coach.
yeah, he was a great coach. Yeah, yeah. Gary Nelson, he was a coach for McRae. That's another
Yeah.
conglomerate of schools and towns. Yeah, he did very well. So they were always, you know, every summer I got to go to basketball camp and try to convert me to basketball. I was too aggressive. I'd fall out
Yeah.
most of the time at all. So wasn't really wasn't my sport.
Yeah. So then how did you even get into wrestling?
My one of my really good friends, his dad brought me to my first wrestling tournament when I was probably in like fourth grade. My buddy
Okay. Oh,
Nate
later.
went and his dad Greg. Yeah, and I only wrestled a few wrestling matches in my youth, and then really just starting out in junior high, seventh grade when I could, you know, be a part of it. I was the wrestling manager when I was in sixth grade,
Hmm.
and our head coach Paul Sear, he was awesome. He's really probably one of, you know, the main reason why I got into it, and so he
Yeah.
coached for a long time and still involved, and so yeah, so I got hooked on it then. I really did it because I felt like all the good football players and baseball players were wrestlers, and
Yeah.
and I didn't really enjoy basketball, and that's kind of how I got into it, and then just, you know, small town, you do well and you move
Mhm.
on and get noticed, and so
Was your town good at wrestling or big into wrestling? Like, was there a
yeah,
big?
it really was. So my junior year of high school, we took second place in the state wrestling tournament, but that was just like a one and done, like a flash in the pan type of thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we did well. We lost to Frazee in the state finals, and so we had some, you know, some conference championships, some good runs, but
Yeah.
yeah, relatively pretty competitive through that whole kind of era,
Hmm.
and I think they did okay. You know, I kind of lost track of them after a while, but I think they
Right.
continued to do okay. So
Yeah. So you started really wrestling in like sixth or seventh grade, it sounds like.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And is that when you started to go to maybe like bigger tournaments like AA? Did you do like the AAU?
No, I never did any of those. I never did freestyle. I never did Greco. I just did strictly what high school and junior high had to offer, when the season was done, the season was done. I
Mhm.
never did anything outside of high school. It wasn't,
Wow.
which is kind of funny because I mean,
Mhm.
therefore I wasn't really heavily recruited. I don't think I
Right.
wasn't, I'd won the state tournament twice, but I wasn't really heavily recruited, and
Yeah.
which was fine. I really wanted to play baseball, and that's kind of
Really.
what I really wanted to do. And so I was going to go to the University of Minnesota,
Hmm.
and I was kind of all set up to go there. Just really no scholarship, nothing, no benefits to it. And then
Just like a preferred walk-on, basically.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And then my wrestling coach Paul Sear, he's like, well, you should go up to North Dakota State and go talk to Bucky up there and
Yeah.
get a connection with them. And I had some conversations, but it was just too far. Fargo was not, was not on the radar for me at all. And then Jeff Swenson, my Augsburg coach, he and the baseball coach came down and watched me play baseball. So I'd already kind of made up my mind I was going to University of Minnesota. He came down. I had probably the best baseball game I ever played. I was pitcher and third base, and I hit well. And the coach was like, "Well, you can play baseball and wrestle." And I'm thinking, "All right, I could do both." And
Really.
yeah, and so that was, and then obviously the draw to Jeff Swenson, and then in fact, Paul Sear, my high school coach, drove me up to Augsburg. Yeah, my mom and I up to Augsburg for my tour, my visit, and had some good tour guides, and I was hooked, and away I went. And I actually, right before baseball season started, a guy fell on my leg in practice and partially tore my MCL, so I didn't go on to play baseball, which is
Wow.
which is kind of a blessing in disguise, right? That was It allowed me to just focus on wrestling. So then the next year came around, and I'm like, I'll stick with wrestling. But
Really. Jeff
yeah,
Swenson, he kind of snaked his way, not snaked his way because it wasn't an ill will, but like, he
yeah,
kind of sneakily, like, he probably was like, "Hey, you going down to watch Joe Moon play baseball? I'll come with too. Why don't please?" And he probably just
yeah,
hooked in.
yeah,
Wow, that's
exactly.
funny. And
Salesman he is, and
so you never played baseball in college?
never played baseball in college. No, no, never played
Hmm,
again after that. Just some
that's kind of a
soft little
bummer.
league softball. That's about
Yeah,
it.
that, kind of a bummer, that you
I
didn't.
know.
But did that impact your wrestling at all then? Because it was
No,
partially torn, right?
yeah. So that happened right at the end of the season. I was behind Nick Slack in the lineup. Nick Slack had a torn ACL, so he wasn't even sure if he was going to wrestle. So I was next in line, and
Mhm.
um, and so I had to go through the national wrestlers, their training, right? So I had to do all the reps, all the training. I had to act as if I was going to go on to regionals and try to qualify for nationals. And so I was doing all the reps and doing all that, and then it was kind of looking like Slack was going to come back anyways at that time. And then a guy just a small wrestling room at Augsburg, tiny, and which had its own character and uniqueness. I think it brought to us, but it was somebody just fell and hit my leg, and man, it was yeah, I was pretty much done. And
Yeah.
it took through this about partially through the summer to recover. And then actually that following year, I took a medical red shirt because I had some really bad back issues, low back issues.
Really?
Yeah, I had spondylolisthesis and fractured vertebrae. I mean, I could to the point where I could
Gosh.
hardly even tie my shoes or move or anything like that. And so I struggled with that for a while, and that year was particularly bad. I worked construction all summer, and I'd fallen off some scaffolding, and it really just
Jeez.
kind of some extra back pain, and so I took that year off. And
Yeah. Was that 0102 then?
it was a 102. Yeah, yeah.
Dang. Did you have thoughts that maybe like your athletic career was done at that point?
Yeah, it's funny because I was ready to get out of Minnesota too, and I'm like,
Really?
I'm going to Arizona State. That just seemed like the place to go. And
What?
I remember, yeah, I know. I hate it. I was ready to be done with the cold, man. I was
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
And so it's kind of funny because I'd applied, I got accepted. I was kind of doing all the
Oh
transfer
my
stuff.
gosh,
I wasn't,
you were gonna go.
yeah, yeah, I was gonna go, and I wasn't, and I didn't communicate this with Swentz at all, or really anybody. I was kind of, sophomore slump. I was
Right.
injured. Really, just like I felt like I was wasting my time. I was going to practices,
Yeah.
still every day and helping with weigh-ins and just do some odds and ends. But I'm like, this is brutal, and so So that's when I made the decision. And then Swentz had caught wind that I was on my way out. And so he took
There
me
was a
aside. And,
whistleblower.
yeah, exactly. There was a whistleblower. And thank God, right? As
Yeah,
I look
right.
back on it. But yeah. And so he had taken me aside, and I'm just like, I'm so sick of the cold and, this. And he's like, listen, when you're done with wrestling, you'll be done forever. You'll be able to go anywhere you want. And you can, I was big into hunting, always was into hunting. I can hunt
Mhm.
now. And so you can do all that when you're done with wrestling. He's like, trust me, I love the warmth and I love hunting and, I love all that stuff, but you'll have the rest of your life. And so he convinced me to stay, and kind of integrated me back again with the team.
Mhm.
And then going on, let's see, that was Slacks last year, and then I kind of moved into the next guy in line, and
Yeah.
it wasn't a shoe in by any means. We had some really tough guys there, and kind of battled for it, and worked out. Ended up making it to
You did?
nationals and taking fifth, which I still think I should have won it that year, but
Wow, really?
joked, yeah, yeah,
That's kind of wild that like, you got hurt your freshman year and then you didn't really wrestle at all the next year with back injury and all that. And now all of a sudden you come back and boom, fifth place. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
plus you're
My my
mentally
my
you're gone too there a little bit. Like,
Yeah, big time. My biggest strengths was conditioning and
mm,
and strength. Really, I mean, it's funny. You'll talk to some of my old teammates, like Jamel Tidwell. He always cracks me up. He's like, "You're the worst, best wrestler I know." Like, like, to put it this point, Kelly, like, this is how disconnected I was. I didn't grow up with wrestling. I didn't have family.
yeah.
I didn't. I didn't do any Greco freestyle. I only did like what I was engaged in. And this is a
Hmm.
really funny part. This is after the fact. You'll get a kick out of this, but
Yeah.
I graduated from college. I knew exactly, who Dan Gable was and all the important people. And so
Yeah.
I was up in Fargo, North Dakota. I was up there for work. This is probably 4 years after I got out of wrestling. And I
Hmm.
was at the hotel. I get in the elevator. Another guy comes in the elevator, and I see he has cauliflower ear. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, you wrestled, huh? Where'd you wrestle? And he's like, Iowa State. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. When were you there? He's like, yeah, I was there. And then I went on to coach Iowa. And I'm like, oh, wow, holy crap, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Not clicking at all in my head, like not recognizing the guy, nothing. I'm just like kind of focused into small talk. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm Joe. And he's like, I'm Dan Gable. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm in the elevator with Dan Gable and I didn't even know it. I'm like, I'm such a ditz. And so I told, of course, all those guys that story, and they're like, Moon, you're so dumb when it comes to this stuff. Like, I'm like, I'm sorry. I've never really, got into it as much as I probably should have. So
Hmm.
now I'm into it, of course. Now I
Yeah.
enjoy it and appreciate it a lot more than probably back then. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's
You
that's kind
know,
of kind of me.
yeah, and I'll say this, like I've talked to quite a few people who actually are kind of on that same level. They're a little naive to it, and it actually
Mhm.
benefited them.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get sucked into names and rankings and all that stuff. They didn't care. Like,
Mhm.
me being, I was sucked into that. Like I know who you were, I knew the names and rankings and everything and stats. And so if you were
Mhm.
wrestling this person, I'd be like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But you probably be like, who's this guy? Like, I don't know. Like,
Exactly. You're spot on with that, Kobe. Yeah.
yeah. And so it probably, in a
Ignorance
way,
is
it probably
really bliss.
benefited you.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Because
So,
I mean, wrestling is such a mental sport, and
right.
I always say it's 80% mental. Probably 15% physical and 5 technique. I mean, I'm a walking example of that, and
Yeah.
obviously I believed in it, and so it was. I think you're right. I think that definitely played to my favor and helped
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
And so like growing up, you just went to the local tournaments and stuff. Like, how did you start to improve and jump levels in wrestling if like you really only stuck to the season?
Yeah. So again, strength was my biggest thing. Strength and
Okay.
conditioning. And I had a few good moves, and that was
Hmm.
it. But I really truly just out conditioned and outpowered everybody in my weight class. And
Hmm.
and then once I got when I finally had the mental strength I'm like, well, there's no reason I can't beat anybody else in the country. I'm the same weight. I'm stronger. I'm faster. I mean, I could work technically and learn some things, but it's kind of funny. I look back to one match. It was my sophomore year. It was this. I was a sophomore. He was a senior. He wrestled for Waterville, Legion Morristown, so one of our rivals, and
Mhm.
I beat this guy in the true second match to go to the state tournament. And then I'm like, yeah, if I can beat this guy, I can beat anybody. And then I go to the state tournament, I draw the number one seed, the undefeated guy, and I beat him. And I'm like,
Really?
this is it. I'm like, I truly believe I can beat anybody. And and so I just kind of had that mentality going through, and I ended up taking fifth that year, but I still did better than I thought. So then I had this confidence, and then maybe the swagger,
Yeah.
and then as I got stronger and faster and more conditioned, it just it became different. Again, I got really good at a few different moves, and
Hmm.
that was it. So I think it was the combination, and I enjoyed it too. I had
Oh
great
yeah.
coaches, I had great teammates. I wanted to be there, right, and that's I
Right.
think a big part of nobody was forcing me to be there. In fact, my mom would always be like, "Joey, you can quit anytime. You can quit. It's okay." It's funny. So I had
Wow.
all the things going against me, like your total
Yeah.
non-typical wrestler, especially
Yeah.
these days. Yeah.
How invested were you in a baseball during this time?
So I played big time. Like I said, baseball and football
Hmm.
were my main sports,
Oh,
and
football
baseball.
too, even.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Small town, you got to do it all.
Right. Were you
And
doing like winter ball or not? Maybe not winter ball, but like winter workouts for baseball. Like if that was your
yeah,
sport, were you
yeah,
just? Yeah.
we would overlap a little bit with some
Yeah.
hitting and some of that, but not like it is today. I mean, listen, if we put in half the effort that they put in today, back then it would have been quite a bit different. But it was I played from overlapped a little with the wrestling, and then all the way through the summer, and then we play club ball or legion
Yeah.
ball, things like
Right.
that.
Yeah. Leisure ball. Yeah.
And we didn't really have the clubs at that time, but that was yeah. Again, that was my sport. That's what I liked the most, and at the time, and yeah,
Is in Minnesota, is it a spring sport?
yeah, spring sport.
Okay. Because in Iowa, it's weird. I feel like they're one of the few that it's a summer sport. I
Hmm.
mean, we got done, state tournament was like late July, early August,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know?
wow.
Yeah. But I feel
Yeah.
like Minnesota has, I mean, it's done in like May.
Yeah. Yeah. It wraps up in May.
Okay. So let me ask you, I'm curious now. Where do you play? I mean, it's April in Minnesota. Where are you playing baseball at? Like, are you playing in the cold a lot or
Well,
what?
keep in mind, Calby, southern Minnesota, 20 miles from the Iowa border. So there's a significant difference in weather.
True, true,
I'm
true.
just kidding. A little bit, a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we played in snow, we played in all
Oh
that
my
crap. I mean,
gosh.
it wasn't enjoyable. Now you know why I live in Florida. I had to get out of there.
Oh my gosh.
Tortured too much.
Yeah. But Legion Ball is a big deal then in Minnesota. Like in
Legion
Iowa,
ball.
it's not really a
Oh,
thing.
really? Huh.
Not until you kind of like maybe when you get out of high
Yeah.
school, you know, then it becomes more of a big deal. But like, no,
Did you play?
it's high school season.
Did you play
Yeah, I
ball?
love baseball. Yeah.
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 I was my stature, so I'm like 5'6". You know, I in high school I was like 130. So like obviously I wasn't gonna play football.
Yeah.
And I was just a smaller kid in general. So like baseball, it doesn't really matter how big you are,
Hmm.
like how fast you are, like those help. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's very technical, and like that's where I tried to be good at because obviously I wasn't big. I wasn't hitting home
Yeah.
runs,
Right.
you know. But like if I could use my speed and my instincts and stuff like that, like that to give me that little edge, that's why I like baseball
Yeah.
because there were kids that were way bigger than me that were not as good as me because
Mhm.
it takes a special skill to play baseball.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's my spiel. But yeah, I love baseball.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
yeah. So you're when did you decide that you were gonna maybe wrestle at the next level? It sounds like later on in your high school career.
Yeah, it
Like, was
really
it a
was.
surprise to you to even be like, oh, I guess I can wrestle at the next level? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it really was. It was probably I started getting, some of the recruiting letters and things like
Yeah.
that. Probably, I think it would have been my senior year, like the first part of my
Yeah.
senior year. Again, I wasn't on the radar for anybody, and I took
Yeah.
fifth my sophomore year of high school, and first my junior year, and
What
then
class were you?
Class A, just a small, yeah,
Okay.
really small,
Hmm.
small school, and then in high school, so I got selected to be on the Minnesota Wisconsin All Star team. So it's Minnesota versus Wisconsin if you're
Yeah.
state final or a state champion. I think it had to be a champion. I don't remember if you had to be a champion or a finalist. And so I was on that my senior year, and then I got selected to be on the Minnesota versus U.S. All Star team, and
Oh.
that was really cool. So now I'm, all these guys that I know from high school that are big into Greco freestyle, like wrestling is their sport. I'm on this team with them, and so I think it was Jim Jackson, the coach of Apple Valley at the time, was
Ooh.
one of the coaches.
Yeah.
Bill Schmidt was a big part of it. He's an old alumni from Augsburg. I'm just trying to think of some of the names. And I wrestled a kid that Wes Robinson or something. I think it was
Hmm.
Wes Robinson. He ended up going to Oklahoma, not Oklahoma State, University of Oklahoma. And so I was scrapping with him, and I think he won the national high school tournament. I
Wow.
went to the national high school wrestling tournament. I think I won one and lost two, or whatever. I didn't do that well. I
Yeah.
honestly I didn't have the confidence. And again, I look back, I'm like, I could have totally managed to do well in
Sure.
this. And same thing that happened when I wrestled at the Minnesota versus U.S. All Star team, and so I ended up losing. I got beat. I don't think I got majored or anything, but I ended up getting beat by quite a bit. But I did well, and I'm like, again, I walked out of that thinking I should have won, and I think that
Hmm.
maybe probably piqued some people's interest because you had all the coaches, right, from all the colleges watching that,
Yeah.
and so I started to get a little more notoriety, and I think that's like at the time shortly after that I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. Like I was going to the University of Minnesota. I was just, I talked to Marty Morgan. I was going
Hmm.
to go, but there wasn't anything for me. Again, I was such a low recruit,
Hmm.
and that's when I switched to Augsburg, and that I don't know, it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
It kind of just
Yeah.
felt because I didn't really have any guidance. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. It was almost like a form of the military for me, to be honest with you. It was in where I'm from, most of the people go to technical college. You go
Yeah.
get a trade, and I was going to be an electrician. That was kind of my trade I was
Hmm.
working towards, and so when I knew I had the opportunity to just go out and do something other than construction or something like that, I kind of jumped. And I'm like, I'll see where it goes, and just kept kind of marching through. Had my ups and downs, of course,
Yeah.
like everybody, but had a great group of teammates. We had one of the largest recruiting classes at Augsburg that year.
Really?
Not a lot of them stuck around, but
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's. I always tell everyone, all my friends around here, my friends' kids, that all they're all like, I'm only going D1 and that's it. Whatever they're
Yeah.
playing football or baseball. I'm like, man, you got to look at all divisions because by the time you make it there, you're going to hate it. It's going to be a job for you. So you got to get past that mental step, until you get mature enough to understand like this is an everyday ordeal. You're putting
Hmm.
in 6 to 8 hours a day into the sport. And you just have to accept it. Like that's your role. It's your job. And if you're going to be there, you might as well be the best you can be. You're no longer
Hmm.
the star in high school that you were. You're starting over. You're at the bottom of the pile, and
Yeah.
no matter how big a recruit you are, you're at the bottom of the pile. And it was amazing seeing some of these top recruits kind of fall down, and some of
Hmm.
some of the guys that weren't really very sought after peak, right? Because they didn't have
Yeah.
the and you get exposed to the right scenario, right team, right coaching, right practice partners, and all of a sudden you see this differentiation of all these different athletes that are
Hmm.
going up and going down, and people that you thought were going to be four-time All-Americans or national champions never even made the team, got beat out by someone like me that was supposed to be there.
Yeah. No, that's really well said. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, um, who went D2 or D3, and yeah, their mindset at one point was D1 or bust. And
Mhm.
then all of a sudden they started getting looks at these other schools that they've never even heard of. And they're like, oh, hey, that's a nice campus. These are nice coaches. They care about me, and the academics fit too. Like that's another thing. I mean, academics at D2 and D3, there's smaller class sizes. You get to know your
Mhm.
professors. Not that you can at the bigger universities. You know, I got to know my professors at the University of Nebraska, but like it's just, you know, like you went to Augsburg, it's
Mhm.
just a
Yeah.
lot more of a family environment. So and they loved it and they wouldn't trade it for anything going
Yeah,
D2 and D3.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And so yeah, that's I emphasize that too. I mean, if you
yeah,
have the passion to continue to play or whatever you're doing, don't rule out D3. I mean,
no,
it's just not, the hype isn't there until you get there. You're like, all right, this is a good place to be. Something that
yeah,
maybe missed out unless you had family that exposed you to it. And yeah, so
yeah.
I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful and glad I went to Augsburg. I mean, I still think I would have been national champion D1, but
Maybe,
but
maybe.
I can't say it because I can't prove it. So I just mentally,
Yeah.
it's really,
You know, the other thing is like, I feel like D2 and D3 athletes are built a little different in the fact that like because they don't get the notoriety, there has to be like this love for it. Like you're
mhm,
doing it because you love it. You're not getting all this money, you're not getting these high-end scholarships, like all these
mhm,
things. You're not getting the nice facilities. I mean, some schools have nice
right.
facilities, but you know, the gyms aren't as packed. Like there's just all of it that is like you're
Yeah,
really doing it because you love it,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Or
um
you're addicted to it. You're addicted to the wins. You're addicted to the whatever it is. But you're
yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, because it's you can just walk away, right? I mean, if you want to quit,
yeah,
and I think that's the hard part. Like when you look at D3 schools and you get these dynasties like Augsburg and Wartburg. I mean, a lot of guys don't walk away from it. I had friends that went
no,
to, at the time it was Concordia Moorhead. It wasn't a real strong program, right? And they're partying like a day or two before the tournament. And here we're not drinking through the whole season. We're just
yeah,
we're like regimented into this. We're disciplined and to hear the different scenarios. So I think that you can have a lot of different varieties of experiences if in
sure.
D1, D2, D3. And again, if you want to play, go for it. Keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so as far as your wrestling career, like when did you start really taking to the sport of wrestling? Because it sounds like at first it was
Mhm.
just something you were doing
Mhm.
to do, and then so
Yeah.
like yeah, when did that like love for the sport start to um, you know, ignite?
Yeah. I would say probably my senior year of high school.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
Yeah. Wasn't until then that I'm like thinking
Like
there could
during the
be
season, or was this like after you won your second state title?
leading up to it,
Okay.
leading up to it. We had a really good football team at the time, and
Yeah.
knowing when that was done, I wasn't going to go anywhere and play football.
Yeah.
I wish. I mean, that would have been another fun sport at the time
Yeah.
too, and then just I think knowing that that was really probably my only opportunity to go to the next level and do something out, in college and
Mhm.
just kind of keep moving forward and not be done. I think had I been recruited, to go play baseball aggressively,
Yeah.
I probably would have gone that route. And again, that's wrestling was just it. That's how I stood out,
Yeah.
and that's how I got noticed. And I didn't reach out to coaches, or there was no Twitter, LinkedIn, no highlight reel, none
Yeah.
of that. It was all just organic word of mouth, and so that's I think that's really when I focused on in my senior year
Yeah.
and thought, all right, I can do something different, and started weight training a little bit
Yeah.
heavier, and then it really wasn't until I got into college I really learned how to weight train. And that's
Mhm.
when I really put on a ton of strength. I had a good roommate, a good friend in college, Billy Morgan, and he was kind of a little bodybuilder, and so he's the one that got me into it, and anyways, and so
Yeah.
that's really it. It was definitely later in the career than most people, right?
Yeah. Well, what was your stats during for baseball? Like, were you like a 500 hitter? Like, were you pretty?
Yeah,
And
I was a
What position
500
did you play?
pitcher and third base. Pitcher
Oh,
and third
okay.
base. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a good arm.
Yeah.
I wasn't the ace pitcher. I was probably number two or three, kind of battle between that and but pretty much held down third base and was usually three or four in the lineup for hitting.
Yeah. Okay.
We had a good baseball team. We had some guys that
Really?
were dedicated to it too. So, um, and yeah, so I mean, we were. I don't know. It's kind of funny thinking back. I don't remember what my stats were with high school wrestling, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many wins or losses I had in college. I totally forgot about all that.
Mhm.
But I'd probably put probably in like the 300-400 like
Okay.
range. Nothing amazing, but
Yeah.
again, in my mind, it was good.
Yeah. And what about the wrestling team? You said you got second, right, as
Mhm.
your junior year.
Junior
I
year, yeah.
mean, um, was it traditionally a pretty good? I think I asked you this
We
earlier, so I
we
apologize,
would
but was it
no
traditionally pretty good?
we would compete, but we would not make it to the state tournament as a team.
Yeah.
That was not a common thing. In fact, I don't think it had been. It could be wrong. I want to say it was like the 70s or 80s was the last time like any of those schools had gone to the state wrestling tournament. And so yeah, we kind of had an era of really good athletes in my grade,
Gotcha.
grade
Yeah.
below, a grade above, and we just had a really good. How you get that in some of those small
Yeah.
towns, and just like this wave moves, and you're winning. We were ranked number 2 in football in the state. We lost in the section finals to the team that just walked through the tournament. So we missed going to state there. We were pretty top ranked in baseball, and we lost, right towards the end of the playoffs. Teams that go on and win it, and then wrestling, we were always kind of in the top. We had a couple other schools that were pretty tough for us. So
Hmm.
kind of the same schools that we would compete with in football and baseball, right there. Like
Yeah.
those 3 schools were all really good for the most part.
Yeah.
But
You know, with wrestling not being right at the top when you were, going through high school, what was it like? What was it like though when you got fifth place or won a state title? I mean,
yeah,
that had to be still a pretty amazing feeling, you know?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in a small town, and not a lot of people
Yeah.
have done that. So I mean, yeah, it was incredible, right? It's you kind of become the young hometown hero for a little
Yeah.
while,
Yeah.
and so that was really cool, especially after I won the state tournament.
Hmm.
Is the first one to win it as a junior. I think I'm the only one to win it as a junior there still, and the only
Really?
two-time state champion out of the school. So yeah, so I still go back, and people still want to talk wrestling. The folks that have followed it, and
Yeah.
I was like, "You still wrestling?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm pretty done with that."
Um, well, on that note, real quick, any opportunity to get back into it, or are you just like, you know what? I'm happy I wrestled. That's just like kind of in the
Yeah,
past. I'm kind of a fan now, but I mean, is there any
yeah.
chance you might even get back on the mat in a coaching role or anything?
I've thought about that.
Hmm.
In Sarasota here or in Florida, wrestling's not huge, right? I
Right.
mean, there's a couple pockets that are really big. They get done with school at like 2:15, and I think,
Oh,
and for my work schedule, it's like impossible to.
yeah.
And that's always been my hang up. Like I've always tried to get involved and coach, because I really enjoy the coaching aspect, and I still love
Yeah.
the sport, and so never say never, but
Right.
as of right now, I think
Right.
I'll just be more of a spectator and
Yeah.
cheer on the Augies, and
Yeah.
I still want to make it up to D1s. Believe it or not, I've never done that, so
Really.
yeah, maybe in the next couple of years I'll try to put that on the list. It's
Yeah.
my kids volleyball. I'm telling you, that's what I
Yeah.
do.
Hey, that's great. Like being involved in that and because being a coach and being a high level coach, like, yeah, you
Hmm.
kind of miss some of those things. So,
Hmm.
I mean, wrestling will always be there, but like your kids' sports will not always be there. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure someone's told you that before, but just,
It's true. It's true. It's almost coming to an end. So
I know.
maybe if
Gosh.
we have this conversation in another year, it might be different. Maybe I'll be,
Yeah.
kind of looking to get into something, but
Yeah.
no.
Um, so you end up going to Augsburg. So you win your second state title. You're on top of the world. Um, and now you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to Augsburg to wrestle and play baseball. But it didn't really start out like as happening as you thought it would, like
Right.
it's not, I mean, you almost transferred.
Yeah.
Did you almost transfer multiple times, thinking that
Just,
like just
just,
that
just
one?
the one time. Yeah. Just my
Mhm.
sophomore year, made it through the freshman year, had a great time. And then it was that injury
The back
with my
injury?
back. My back injury was really a
Yeah.
part of it. I paid for myself to get through school. I had no financial help or any of
You had
that.
no
So
scholarship or anything?
I mean, there was some, your academic scholarships and things like
Yeah.
that, but really not a lot.
Wow.
I did get financially. I came from a very low income family, so
Yeah.
I was able to get some of that. But school wasn't paid for. I'm paying for my living, for my food, for literally
Wow.
everything. Car,
Do you have a
clothes.
job during this time too?
Oh yeah, I worked the whole time. Yeah, I worked
Wow.
construction. I worked catering company where a lot of wrestlers actually worked. Divine
Yeah.
Swine Catering.
Yeah.
Little roasted pig you really dig. That was a good job. And yeah, I did a lot of different construction, a lot of side jobs, painting, anything I could do to pick up some extra cash. I'd go back home on the weekends and go work in the fields in the fall if I could. And honestly, if I could put in hours, make some money,
Mhm.
that was it. It was
Yeah.
constant. So that really that started to wear on me. And as you're
Yeah.
kind of growing and all that responsibility is now starting to fall on me, I'm trying to run away right from your problems and thinking if I go
Yeah.
somewhere else, if I stop, putting in 6 to 8 hours a day into the wrestling program, I can put that into work. I can make more money. I can support myself. And Arizona State seems like a pretty cool place to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that was kind of the whole slump of it. And then as I
Yeah.
look back on it now, I think of the support you get from a wrestling program, from a team, from your coaches, from all of the things that kind of come with that camaraderie and that family. And that's one of the things I think I respect so much about wrestling, because it is such a tight knit team. You have a football team, you might have your defense and your offense that
Right.
are friends, and you have your little pockets, so you're separate.
Yeah.
But when you're a wrestling team, I mean, you're in it with everyone, right? You spend a lot of time together, a lot of misery. You're cutting weight with the lightweight guy, or hanging out with the heavyweights. It's just everyone is such a smaller, more cohesive thing. So I think once I got the really the hook on that after
Yeah.
after Swens came and talked to me, that really kind of changed things quite a bit. So yeah, so it started off rough.
Yeah.
It definitely shapes you, changes your perspective, and then coming around and once I was in and hooked into it, I think it's kind of my personality. Like if I'm into it, I'm into it. It's
Mhm.
just kind of partially dallying with it. It's not my best effort. So
Yeah.
it's
But even though he came and talked to you, like,
mhm.
what sort of turned the tide to make you start to fall back in love with the sport or really start to enjoy it again? Because even though
Mhm.
he comes and talks and it's Jeff Swenson, oh my gosh,
Yeah, yeah,
it still is up to you and, to get that fire back, and
yeah.
so like, how did that start to happen again for you?
Yeah, well, I think partly also, I had become a captain on the team, so I had become an important role
Yeah.
on the team as well. So, kind of feeling like I had to be a leader, support the team, just which is kind of funny coming off an injury and coming into being a
Right.
captain is
Yeah.
not normal. So it's that was probably part of it. I think man, I don't know. I think just the feeling, it felt right. And again, I think
Yeah.
having the leadership, Sam Barber was there at the time. Had had him as a great influential coach as well. He helped me. He helped me with side jobs, things like that, doing different
Yeah.
construction. So he was a big part of it. And my other coaches, Scott Worley, Donnie Wickman, kind of all just the whole crew of
Yeah.
coaches and people that you just didn't want to let down, right? So once you're in, and I kind of remember thinking this to myself: if I'm going to be here this much time, all the time, then I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to do everything I possibly can do. And so that was kind of my mindset, and I think that's what. Oops, my video switched. That's kind of when it all shifted. So
Hmm.
it really was just I can't really pin it on one thing other
Yeah.
than just knowing if I'm going to do it, I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to win the runs.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the most. I'm going to win it. And that was kind of the mentality.
Yeah. And I mean, you turned it around right away. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, you thought, you probably could have won it would that have been like your redshirt sophomore year or just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
sophomore year? Okay.
sophomore. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
You
a
know, you end
pivotal
up
match.
taking fifth, but
Pivotal match that I lost to a guy, Cody Koning. That was always he and I were back and forth. I mean, and he was just a funky wrestler, and we met in the semifinals, and I was winning. Stuck my head out too far, got pulled over, put to my back, and I ended up losing the match like right in the end. And I came out of that just like deflated. He ended
mhm,
up making it to the finals, and and he actually won it. He won it. He won it after
wow.
that, and so it was so close. And I'm like, if I would have just not got sloppy,
Yeah.
that was that would have been the difference. So yeah, I was close, just like everyone. They all have their little, they're like I coulda, shoulda, woulda. I was
Yeah.
there, and then I went into my next match and I was deflated. And
Yeah.
I think I would say, after losing in the semis, that's probably the toughest match you can possibly ever wrestle.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so and then I knew I could win. I was confident I could win
Hmm.
it, at least become a finalist. I mean, the
Yeah.
guy that was still kind of the four-time finalist, of defending national champ, Edward Olasinkia from Montclair State. I knew he was, one of the guys to beat. And then the following year, when I got past Koning, ended up beating him. Then I felt like I was pretty home sailing there.
Yeah. I was gonna say it sounds like, potentially that loss and finishing fifth. Um, that right, because you finished fifth that
Yeah,
year. That almost like just blew the sails out and like you just were like, I'm not letting that happen again.
yeah, exactly. But here's a funny story. So you
Yeah.
fast forward to it was my junior year eligibility, my senior
Hmm.
year kind of academically. It was on my birthday. It was February 12th. My wrestling coach had put together two buses to come up for this dual meet at Augsburg. So it's like an hour and 25 minutes. So they put together two buses from my bunch of people from my hometown, come up, watch this dual meet against Stevens Point. I was wrestling Cody Koning, the guy that was defending
Yeah.
national
Yeah.
champion. And my dumbass, I go in there, I was all jacked up, and I go in
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
and just throwing him around a little. And again, he was so funky for me to wrestle. He pops me in a headlock right to my back. I got pinned in like a minute and a half on my birthday with my whole home there.
Wow.
That probably right before regionals, right before going to the nationals. And so the next time I see him is in the semifinals to go to to the not to the championship round. So I ended up
Yeah.
beating him. So I mean, I guess I'll trade that loss for the end result. But that was
Yeah.
that rocked me a little bit.
Yeah. And Stevens Point was good.
Yeah.
Like they've
Yeah.
had flashes where they've been very solid,
Mm-hmm.
as a team. So doesn't surprise me that someone from Stevens Point was right there with you.
Yeah.
Um, what were those teams like? I mean, those teams, you finished second, first. Even before
Mm-hmm.
then, I think there was a first place. You might have been a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Freshman.
that room just must have been a dogfight.
Yeah. It really was. We had a good group of upperclassmen.
Yeah.
Graduated in '02, and they had the group right before them. So you just come off of these stacked years, and as you kind of fill in and try to think, man, those guys were so good, and then all of a sudden you're like,
Yeah.
oh, we got to be the next ones, we got to be the leaders and the next guys to go. Which I'll argue, and I know I'm right. Our 2005 team was hands down the best, and
Yeah.
I was in battle with Nick Slack and Darren Bertram on who's the best team, but
Yeah.
we had 10 All-Americans, and
You
there's a
finished
couple
first. What,
there's a
they
couple
finished
toss
second?
up, yeah, a couple toss up matches. So it's that's in their mind, but yeah, so it was kind of crazy coming off of that, and we had transfers and guys that transferred in. Marcus Sylvester came in, Matt Shanky came in from Iowa. So we had I mean, as a team started to evolve and get stacked up, it was pretty fun, and we became the big powerhouse. But
Yeah.
yeah, the room it was a dogfight. I mean, the unique thing was, and we didn't have wrestle offs. It was who won the wrestling tournament, right? We're all in the
Yeah.
tournament, and yeah, and who won it was who got the team. So like fast forwarding to my super senior year, and I don't know if you might say, I think I was 16-0 my super senior year. I call it super senior, but that's when I came back. So when I left after I won the national tournament the first year, I was done. I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to wrestle anymore
Mhm.
because at that time you had to take a full load of classes in order to
Yeah.
compete, and Augsburg tuition is not inexpensive, and I'd already racked up enough. And I had one class. I had one class left to finish, and so I'm like, no, Spence, I'm moving on. And he
Hmm.
understood the guy that was replacing me was a good wrestler, and I'm like, okay, the team will be in good hands. And so I ended up not coming back, right? I didn't come back in the fall. And then I ended up taking a job, and I really didn't like the job. It was basically like a telemarketer. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, I remember Nick Slack had called, and he's like, it's not, how's it going? I'm like, it sucks. I'm like, this is terrible. And they were just coming back from the national duels, Augsburg, and they won. And the 174 pounder quit. The guy that was my replacement just quit the team. And
Wow.
and so they had guys. I mean, they had really good wrestlers still. Like Casey Flaherty, he was a U of M transfer. He was really good. And so Swentz is like, well, the NCAA changed the rules. You just have to be working towards your degree, and so you have basically like a couple days to decide. And I remember I hadn't got my heart rate above resting since the national wrestling tournament in March the year before,
Mhm.
and this is in February or January, I think it was. And the first thing I did when it was snowing like crazy, and I went out for a run, and I could barely run. And I'm like,
Right.
man, I'm so winded, I'm so out of shape, and thought about it, and I'm like, screw it, I'll go back. And so
Wow.
I went back with 6 weeks left in the season. I used to win
Wow.
every single run. I mean, that
Mhm.
was my thing. Like I'm winning the races, the morning runs. I barely finished in front of our heavyweight that like the first 5-10 runs or something like that. And
Mhm.
I came in at like 195 pounds on a Monday. We went out to Nebraska and wrestled on that Saturday. I had to make weight at 174. It was miserable. And I'm
Whoa.
like, what am I doing? And I made it to
Right.
the finals. I injury defaulted out of that, but I pretty much figured out a way to like get enough points and stall my way through without getting dinged too much. And kind of changed my wrestling style. I wish I would have known that before because I think it made
Right.
me better. But and then marched on through that season,
Mhm.
and that's the year I think we had the strongest strongest team. And so yeah, that was a crazy year. That went by
Wow.
fast. And I
Yeah.
just peaked at the national tournament. Like right before there, I finally got my lungs back and
Mhm.
strength back, and my weight kind of dialed in. And yeah, and it really was not a that was not a very challenging tournament. As I reflect and look at the other ones, where just bloodied and battered, and
Mhm.
two black eyes, and coming out of the other ones. And this one, it just kind of, I got lucky, kind of went through it and
Lucky.
felt comfortable. I don't know.
Lucky.
Uh,
Okay. I
you
was
get it.
wondering because I was taking a look at that year, and you were like 14-1 in duels, and you got beat by Augustana, and so I went and looked at some of the results, through that year, and I didn't see your name at 174. So like I thought maybe maybe you got dinged up or hurt, but now it makes sense.
Yeah,
You were calling people asking them about their car insurance, or whatever
exactly,
you're doing, you know.
exactly.
Oh man.
Well, so yeah, so that was it. But I didn't when I came back. I wasn't granted. I wasn't like, all right, Joe's back. I know he won it last year, but he's the guy. I had to earn my spot back. I had to
Yeah.
win. I had to win a couple turns. I had to win the St. Cloud, I think the St. Cloud State tournament or something like that to get it back. So it was a little contentious. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure.
I mean, it was,
Sure.
here are these guys that put in this work all
Yeah.
season. That's the grinding part. And I just came in from a big steak dinner, like the night before, and having wine, and they're like, I hate you, man.
Yeah. Was it
Yeah,
a little, well, that's a good point. Was it a little contentious? I mean, there were guys
yeah.
like you just said. I mean, did you feel that a little bit? Like when you earned the spot even, like were there people like,
Oh
you know,
yeah, yeah, for sure. There were some. I won't say the names of the
yeah,
guys in there. They're still my friends, and we laugh about it now. But they give me some crap. They were giving me crap about it. Like, oh yeah, now you're here, now you want to wrestle, and you didn't do your time throughout the season. And I felt bad for the guy that I had beat out, kind of, because
yeah.
he was good. He's a really good wrestler, and he and I were actually. in a wrestle off, he was really hard for me to wrestle. He was in Casey Flaherty. He was a good wrestler, and so
Yeah.
he was. If we had done a head to head wrestle off, it would have been challenging. It would have been different, but it's just the
Hmm.
way it worked out in the throughout the season. And that back half, and but yeah, it was interesting how it all unfolded. That's for sure. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure I'd make the team. I wasn't sure. Here I'm leaving on top. Why am I going to come back and
Yeah.
potentially not even qualify for nationals? Not in a good position at all. And it
Yeah.
was brutal. I mean, getting there was tough. It was not a shoe in by any means.
Jeez. Yeah.
And then, like I said, once I got through like that training phase to the national tournament
Yeah.
and the amount of conditioning that they run us through, or ran us through. I don't know if it's still the same, but the amount that they ran us through and what we did was
What'd
you
you
can't.
do?
Oh man, it was the morning runs every day. Your coach assisted endurance lifts 3 times a week, so you're maxing out on reps and just to the point where you're almost puking.
Jeez.
You
This
know,
was leading
you're
up to nationals?
yeah, this is graining up.
What?
Yeah, the peaks like as they
Wow.
build you up. I mean, they're breaking you down so bad, and then like I would get every rep in practice. So you get a practice partner. The practice partner doesn't take any shots. All your shots are, it's 20 shots, 20 plan A's, 20 plan B's, C's, and you just go through, and you're just exhausted, right? And then all of a sudden, you put together little matches. So the national guy will just wrestle. Fresh guys will come in.
Yeah.
And you just got to keep going after the fresh guys, and yeah, just beat the crap out of you. It was we got to that point. It's like, oh, I can't wait to get through this. And then as you start to taper off and start to gear up for the tournament, it's not that way all the way leading up to it, but it's
Yeah.
within probably 5 days of it, you get beat pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about that '04 season, not only did you come off a high of winning it, but you were the OW.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yeah, you kind of had it all.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
So
special, man. That was a special tournament. Coming in there and the guy, I had beat Cody Koenig, my arch nemesis and rival,
yeah.
and the guy that had my number, and then going into the finals, and the guy I wrestled in the finals, Nick Slack and Nick Lewandowski had both wrestled this guy in the finals, and he was a good wrestler. He's really fast, really good on his feet, and the
Mhm.
strategy going into that was from our assistant wrestling coach Scott Worley and Swens. Their strategy was all right. He's going to kick your ass on your feet because I just wasn't like amazing on my feet. I didn't have it. I don't know what it was, but I could
Yeah.
I could hang, I could get a takedown, I could do that. And they're like, he's gonna kick your ass on your feet, but I had a gas tank. I mean, I could wrestle. I could probably run 5 miles after I finished the wrestling. Just I never got tired, and so we knew that
What the
I could.
heck?
I know, I know. Now I can't even run a mile. I'm like, oh man, this is brutal. But so as we went in, the strategy was, all right, you're going to fight every single takedown. Like just fight like a dog. Don't he'll probably get him, but just fight him, fight him, fight him. And then if we win the coin toss, then we'll probably have you choose up in the second period because I was really good on top. I could turn people. I was really, really good with the Turk and it's my chin drop. Everyone gives me crap about it, but it works. And
Mhm.
so he beat me. I think I was 6-3 after the first period and fought like crazy. He had 3 takedowns and I got away. And then I won the coin toss. He won the coin toss. I think deferred. I chose up and I rode him out for that whole period.
So
And
you were
I
down 6-3.
down 6-3, choosing up. Yeah, choosing it
Okay.
crazy. Like the people in
Yeah.
the stands, I'm sure, like, what the hell is he doing? What are they doing here?
Hmm.
And so I rode him out that whole second period. I broke him. Like there was a scramble we got, and I remember like he felt like he was going to get away, and
Hmm.
I just like, and he just went. He was done. Get
Yeah.
back up. He chooses both up. He's got another little second win. A lot of timeouts. The guy was not in good shape at all.
Yeah.
And he would, injury or whatever, I'm hurt, different rules back then than it is now. And just milking it as much as he could. The East Coast timeout, as we would all call. And so we go into the third period, get into a scramble. He ends up, I don't remember how it is. If I got a shot on him or he got a shot on me, we got a scramble. And then I ended up coming out on top. And at that point, it was done. And I threw in the Turk. turned them. Ended up winning 13-6. So
Wow.
it was, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a pretty special
Heck
match.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
maybe showboated a little, and
Of
gave a
course.
flex in the when I had him on his back, and so help get the team, maybe get some extra points to get the OW. But
Yeah. That was the only thing that didn't happen actually that was winning a team title. Did that factor into your decision to come back at all? Like that was like kind of the
yeah,
missing piece there, Joe.
yeah, absolutely it did, and that was part of the conversation
Yeah.
to come back, and knowing how stacked the team was another part of it too, and all the guys I had wrestled with and knew, and everyone's kind of at their peak. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That was definitely a deciding factor, something that weighed
Sure.
in on it. Again, I wasn't sure if I could contribute, but once I got in and got past the first ones and figured out my
Yeah.
my new wrestling style for an out of shape guy, now I'm good.
How did you handle the timeouts and like him like injury time and like trying to basically he tried to maneuver or like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Manipulate,
Yeah,
match. Like how did you stay focused? If you can remember, I know
yeah.
we're talking
No,
like
I
20
can.
years ago.
This is the
Okay.
match I probably remember out of every match I've wrestled,
Hmm.
like the absolute most. And
'Cause that had to be frustrating.
it was, but at the same time, like when it was in the second period, and I felt like I broke. I'm like,
Hmm.
you wrestle so many matches. And again, I'm such a mental I have such a mental aspect of wrestling. Like I could tell when I could break a guy.
Yeah.
It's just like when we'd run in the runs. Like even though Mark Matzik, who would always follow right beside me, right behind me, if I would go neck and neck with him and just push him a little bit and let him win, and then I come past him, he'd break, and then I'd beat him by a block. Like I knew how to break people mentally, and I knew once he was broke, I'm pretty good. Like I could feel his strength, his quickness, all of that, and I don't think he was going to get it back.
Hmm.
Either that, or it's just again the willpower to push through and think that
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen. But I don't remember getting too frustrated. I know the crowd was getting frustrated.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, and into the fact where he actually didn't get off the mat. Like he laid on the mat. I think they ended up like carrying him off afterwards, and so yeah, it was frustrating. But again, there was a point in the match. I'm like, I can do this. I got this.
Yeah. That had to be pretty like that had to be pretty cool also. Not only did you win it, but like you look over and you're like hype. You probably, like you said, I could
Yeah,
probably run 5 miles afterwards. And they
yeah,
literally had to carry him off. Like that is
yeah,
every wrestler's like that's what you work to do,
yeah,
is break
yeah,
somebody that bad. I mean, so was there like a sense of also maybe a little pride there that like
yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like the testosterone would have been like, yeah, who's next? Look at that. Look
Oh
what I
man,
just did to the national runner-up. Who's next? Like nobody.
yeah,
Almost like
exactly.
you're untouchable. I don't
It's
know.
true. It's true. Yeah, I felt like you feel like you can run through a brick wall. It's
Yeah,
fun. It is fun to kind of relive that for sure.
sure.
And but that honestly, that was my mindset all the time. I would go in, and
Mhm.
I always would tell them like, I know I'm going to beat this person, but I want to like embarrass them. But then I want to
Yeah,
be a class act and help them up. But I don't want to beat you, but I just want to beat you by a lot of points. I really want to.
yeah,
Even if I'm up, there's no letting up. I mean, that was just kind of, I think, the mentality that was instilled into me. I don't know where it came from. I don't remember which coach instilled it. I don't remember probably a teammate. I don't know. Maybe I saw it on
mhm,
WWF wrestling at the time, but I
yeah,
don't know what it was.
yeah. That right there made me think about your senior year or your super senior year, and like how long did it take to get that mentality back? Because you
Yeah.
thought you were done. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's to go from like I'm done wrestling, I'm moving on to now I have to get that killer instinct back. I mean, that
Yeah.
sometimes isn't as easy as just to flip a switch or snap your fingers, you know.
Yeah.
How long did it take to get that
No,
back?
you're right, because every match that I was wrestling leading up to that, I was wrestling just to barely win, or just to hold
Right.
on, or know that if I got there, it wasn't to the yeah, you're right. It wasn't to the mental aspect of like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of him. I'm gonna
Yeah.
not just win. I'm gonna embarrass him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know that I got that back until the national tournament. Because
Yeah.
even in the regionals, the qualifier, I had a really tough finals match. The guy was real strong. He was really didn't have a name. There was no notoriety or anything. And
Mhm.
that's I'm like, oh man, I've walked through this tournament before and never even didn't even think I would lose. Just kind of go through the motions. And at that, I'm like, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be a
Mhm.
tough. And then yeah, I think it. I really, I mean, I truly peaked at the national tournament was
Yeah.
the time. And if I started, a week later, I probably wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
Well, maybe,
Yeah,
still. I mean, even at that point, you're still a two-time All-American, like
yeah,
national champ. So we probably still would be. But besides the point,
I
um,
appreciate that.
um, real quick, what was that super senior team like? Like when you found out all 10 guys were All-American and when you found
Yeah.
out you guys won the national title, like as a team, I mean, all of that stuff just must have been, I mean,
It was awesome, and it was in Northfield, right? So it's in southern Minnesota. It's
oh
45
my
minutes
gosh,
from
this
my
is like
hometown.
perfect.
Yeah, we're close to Augsburg, so we had a huge contingent of alumni and family, and it was, I mean, honestly, like pretty the most spectacular time ever. It was so much
Yeah.
fun. It was yeah, and we won it pretty handily too. So
Yeah.
it was really pretty unbelievable.
Hmm.
It was a good way to end. I'll tell you that. I mean, that was
Yeah.
wonderful. And my father-in-law will, because he's so vested to Augsburg, he tells a story all the time. So I've heard the story, 100 times since then, as he tells it to other people, and the excitement. So, and even people I run into back home that weren't wrestling fans that came up and watched it was like, man, this was a fun show. So it was it
Yeah.
was it was incredible. It was like a perfect storm. Couldn't have been
Yeah.
luckier. Healthy, made it in our home state, close to my hometown, like winning the tournament. It really couldn't have gone any better, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Are you surprised or like maybe humbled, like when you go back and they go, "Oh, Joe Moon, you were a part of that 10 All-American team." Like, does it kind of like, does it ever go away of like, being sort of like, wow, people remember this? Yeah, that was pretty special. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
every time is it still just like as remarkable as it was the first
Yeah,
time?
yeah. I mean, obviously, getting older, so it's people are forgetting, but
Oh,
no,
I don't know how you
a
forget that
lot,
stuff.
a lot of it was fun. It was cool when we went back. When I went back
Yeah.
last November, and went to the 25th reunion, 25th national championship reunion. So that was pretty cool. I mean, my hometown is special, and like I said, I grew. It's a small town, so everyone still knows. So when I go back there, there's always a conversation of
Yeah.
wrestling, and kind of reminiscing, and so that is, yeah, that's a part I think that will probably stick around for a long time, and yeah, it's fun to reminisce a little bit.
Sure.
Mhm.
Um, can I quiz you on who the 10 All-Americans were besides yourself? So can you name the other nine All-Americans?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. You can go through. You had Matzik. I'm sorry, you had Matt Shanky, you had Matzik, Jamel Tidwell, 49. Oh my gosh, 49, 49, 49. All right, I got to come back to that one.
Okay.
uh, Levesser, me, Tupa, Sorensen, and I think it was Flanagan that year. Was it Flanagan or was it? No, it's Simmons. Yeah, Simmons. Who am I missing? Why am I missing? Someone's gonna give me a lot of
I
crap for
know,
this.
I know. I was like, oh, you're missing two.
J- not Jared,
Ah,
Jared Evans,
yep. And there's one more.
Valak.
Yep. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. There we go.
Good
Jeez,
job. Good
that's
job.
pretty good. Like I told you, I was in love there with Dan Gable. I didn't even know who it was.
Out of those names, obviously you had the Joe Moon and like the Marcus Levasseur, but was there, in order to get 10 All-Americans, I feel like somebody has to, or a couple of guys have to just like kind of out wrestle their seed or kind of impress. Are there a couple of those names right there that you just listed that maybe did better and outperformed what they were supposed to, and you were kind of almost extra proud of them in the way
Yeah.
that they performed?
I think Justin Sorensen was. he was always there and he always had a ton of potential. I think he
Hmm.
did very well in that one, if I recall. Jared Evans was always a solid wrestler. Like he had the ability to win a national title.
Hmm.
So that one, I mean, I think everyone was pretty much expected
Yeah.
to crush it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Tupa was a phenomenal wrestler. Finally got his chance where he wasn't injured, and
Yeah.
I mean, Levesser, that's a no brainer. Matzik was a rock star. Shanky, Tidwell. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, no, as I
Okay.
kind of go through it, I mean, they were all phenomenal wrestlers, and I
Mhm.
think everyone kind of pulled their part. I know there's, like I said, Tidwell. Obviously, it's bummed he fell short of being national champion, but
Yeah.
that would be one of the upsets there.
Yeah.
Valak was always solid, always performed. Everybody really, really performed. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
What I can't remember what Simmons got. Was he, was he fifth? I don't remember that.
How about this? I'll look them up real quick, but is there someone who you were extra proud of based on like their um story? Like you just said, Tupa had been kind of hurt. I mean, was
Yeah.
there somebody that we wouldn't have kind of thought of that actually, when they were done, you were like, wow, I'm so proud of you. Looks like he got fourth. Simmons got fourth.
Okay. Yeah. So he did really well.
Yeah.
Um, man, I mean, looking at Tupa, probably Tupa was the one, probably the most happy for at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said,
Yeah.
he was a state champion at 171 pounds when I was in high school, and it was like he and I. There was always this debate. He should have been on the Minnesota All Star team, not me. So yeah, and then so he was a great wrestler. I mean, again, one of those things. If you were to wrestle off in the
Yeah.
wrestling tournament, he probably would have had my number. And just the way his injuries fell, and like he and I should have been big time rivalries throughout college, and
Hmm.
he should have been the guy, right? If you look at paper and kind of everything he did leading up to it.
Hmm.
So, and then like his shoulder injuries, all the things he went through, like he stuck through a lot and made it
Yeah.
through a ton. So, I mean, I guess if I think about it, he's probably, and obviously with him passing away this last year, maybe even more front of
Yeah.
mind. But yeah, he probably stood out. He probably stood out the most, I would say. And
Yeah.
as I think back as to someone that came through the trenches and went through the worst, it was definitely
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
On the other side, you wrestled with Marcus Levesser, arguably one of the greatest,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
D3 or wrestlers in general of all time.
Yeah, for
Did you
sure.
guys talk about like him being undefeated? I just was imagining like it being like a pitcher,
Yeah.
who's throwing a
Yeah.
no hitter or a perfect game. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, geez, don't mention it. Did you ever say anything about it, like him being on, like anything like that?
I don't recall ever kind of having that superstitious mentality
Yeah,
about it. I mean, honestly, we just always expected him to win. It was like there was, unless you just fear like hopefully he doesn't get hurt. But I
true.
mean, Kelly, he was so good. He was so fast, so strong, so good, and and he just, I was just guy, the guy just had it. So you never, I don't know, we never really questioned it. I guess
Yeah,
you think of maybe in the finals, like as you think about like, all right, let's hold off on this perfect career,
sure.
keep it going. Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. There's not many of those guys out there.
No. Did he raise your guys' level? Like you have this unicorn essentially,
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
almost like we don't want to let his legacy down by only letting it be like I'm thinking, baseball terms, like Mike Trout or
Hmm.
Shohei Ohtani before the Dodgers, like
Hmm.
these
Hmm.
unicorns, but
Yeah.
everyone else was kind of mad. So like Mike Trout's never gonna make the World Series unless he
Yeah.
goes somewhere. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
did you guys have a chip on your shoulder in that aspect of like,
I think so. I remember when he had made the decision to come to Augsburg, and I remember kind of the hype around like, holy crap, this is a big deal, right? This is a big deal for our program. It's a big deal on a national level. I mean, it only helps with recruiting going forward, right? It was
yeah,
such a big deal, and and Marcus had his struggles. He came over for, I don't know all of his reasons, but it definitely, him coming over was definitely a good thing for him personally. I mean, maybe he has regrets he didn't go D1 and win it that route, but I mean he shouldn't, right? I mean
Right.
he's doing very well for himself, has a good family,
Yeah.
and obviously did everything you could possibly ask of on the team. But
Yeah.
he for sure elevated. I mean, guys like that, Matt Shanky coming was the same way.
Yeah.
Um, all
Yeah. I
those.
forgot he was at Iowa.
Yeah, yeah, he was a big recruit.
Yeah. Did you know these guys beforehand? I mean, you said earlier like you
Yeah.
were in the elevator with Dan Gable. You didn't know who Dan Gable was, but did you know like who Marcus Levasseur and Matt
Oh
Shanky
yeah,
were?
yeah, yeah. I knew who Marcus was. Yeah,
Okay.
I knew all those. I
Okay.
knew like the local guys, the people
Yeah.
that to me. And then when I went to the national high school wrestling tournament out in Pennsylvania, it was I met a lot of those guys, like a
Yeah.
lot of the Minnesota squad, and then being on the Minnesota Wisconsin All Star Classic, I met a lot of those guys that way. And yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But I didn't meet him until then. I mean, that was it. I didn't know him. I knew about him. Like I knew all the names and in high school and who were the top dogs and stuff in the
Yeah.
big schools. But yeah, I didn't know him not until later on.
Yeah. All right. So let's I just want to take this in a different direction real quick. Did you remember Joe Mauer? Did you know who he was?
Yeah,
Did you watch
yeah,
him?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay. You
he was
huge
my
Joe Mauer
age.
fan?
Yeah, yeah, big Joe Mauer fan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what kind of a hype was around that guy growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Man, yeah.
did you ever
I
play
don't think I
against
even
him?
knew how good he was until after he made it in, right? Like we all
Really?
knew he was a rock star, but I don't think we knew that until after the fact. There,
Yeah. Did you ever come across him or play against him or, throw him a
we,
fastball by him or something?
no, we were in a tournament where he was at the tournament, but we never played. I was so close to striking him
Strike him
out.
out. Yeah. Gosh,
he,
yeah. I
he
mean,
was
Minnesota has bred some pretty amazing athletes. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, Joe Mauer, Marcus Levasseur, Joe Moon, like good ones,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
There you go.
Um,
Oh
well,
man.
let me ask you this before I let you go. Like, um, as you look over your wrestling career, as a whole, do you look over it much? Do you sit down and be like, wow, look at all that I accomplished coming from New Richland, Heartland,
Yeah,
Ellendale, Geneva High School, and two-time All-American, or sorry, three-time All-American, two-time champ, part of
yeah,
a national championship team with 10 All-Americans. I mean, holy cow, Joe, like there's some accolades there
yeah,
for a guy who wanted to play baseball.
yeah. I know. Very much so. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for the sport of wrestling, I don't believe I'd be sitting in Florida right now. I don't believe I'd be having the luck and the success in my career. I wouldn't have my family. There's so many things as I look back on wrestling and what it's brought to me. Um, it's formed my life for sure. When especially when I didn't know it was going to. You think of it just a sport, but life only makes sense when you look at it backwards, right? Like I look at when I wanted to leave, and who knows what would have happened if I went to Arizona State, and I just look at the how fortunate I am to have all of the things I have in my life, and really starting with family, friends, like all the things that I've been able to accumulate through really through wrestling. Wrestling gave me kind of the structure, the ability to keep moving forward. Where I think if I didn't have it, I didn't really have the guidance, from in my youth to be able to like for someone to kind of put me through that. So again, it was my form of a military. It was my form of a fraternity. It was my form of someone or something holding me accountable. And if I didn't have that, yeah, I wouldn't be where I am now for sure. So very fortunate to have it, and proud of it too. Proud to be a part of all that stuff. Those accolades that you just mentioned, yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, those aren't. That's not even what I think of. I think of again what it's offered me. Really is what I think of. The accolades are awesome, and
Mhm.
I should have a trophy shelf for them, but I don't. Wear my rings, but I don't.
Mhm.
But really, it's definitely the people I think that you meet along the way, the experiences that you get. You learn from so many different people, and it kind of forms who you want to become. Right? You pick out the good and the bad, and you mold yourself into who's around you. And I think
Mhm.
that's probably my biggest takeaway from from the sport or any sports in that matter. But for me,
Yeah.
it was wrestling, and you know that
Yeah.
experience.
Do you have your brackets or trophies or anywhere like I'm just wondering, do your kids know? Like, have they asked like, hey, they're just rummaging through stuff and they're like, hey, Dad, what's this? What's this ring? And you're like, oh, okay.
It's funny. One of my high school friends has my brackets hanging in his garage, uh, and my trophies are in the attic. And I mean, they know because it's my father-in-law is really involved in our life, and he always talks
Yeah.
about it. He's such a big wrestling guy,
Yeah.
and so yeah. I mean, no, I don't have them. I don't have them on display. I probably should.
Wh- Uh, sorry. Well, last question here. When your family, like when your daughters first noticed those things,
Hmm.
like what did you tell them? Like, or do you remember when they first noticed, like, hey, Dad, what's this ring? Look at what I found. Dad, you wear jewelry, and you're like, oh gosh, here we go.
I think so when they were growing up, when we lived in Minnesota, I'd bring them
Yeah.
to Augsburg, and I
Okay.
brought them into the wrestling room, and I remember them actually. They're actually really good friends with Jeff Swenson's boys,
Oh,
and so like when they were young, yeah, and when they were young, they would wrestle in the wrestling room and kind of screw around, and so I think they've just known about it,
yeah.
all grown up, and to them it's really like, oh, great, let's talk about my dad again, So no, I think as they get older, they probably appreciate it now that
Yeah.
going to college and see what it takes. Maybe they'll appreciate it at that point.
Yeah. Well, real quick then, let's give a shout out to your wife. She played volleyball at Augsburg. How was she and how were her teams?
That was the low point of Augsburg
Ah,
volleyball.
yeah.
She had four coaches in 4 years, and
Wow.
yeah, and they had some turnover. But again, she's still really good friends with all of her teammates. Well, not all of them, but a big
Right.
majority of them. And I think she pushes sports for my kids more than I do now. So yeah, huge shout out to her for sure on that.